The year is roughly 3200 BCE. In Mesopotamia, the Sumerians have just invented writing. In Egypt, the first pharaohs haven't yet unified the kingdom. The Great Pyramid of Giza won't be built for another 6 centuries. Stonehenge is still bare grassland. Its first stones won't rise for another 200 years. But on the green bend of the River Boyne in eastern Ireland, something extraordinary is happening. A community of Neolithic farmers, people who arrived from continental Europe only a few centuries earlier, are moving 200,000 tons of stone, earth, and quartz. They are building a structure 85 meters across and 13 meters high. Inside, they are constructing a 19-meter passage that leads to a cruciform chamber with a corbelled stone roof. These were not primitive cave dwellers. They were sophisticated farmers who kept cattle, grew emmer wheat, and lived in rectangular timber houses. They had crossed the Irish Sea in wooden boats. They had organized labor on a scale that required hundreds of workers and decades of effort. Geological analysis shows they hauled white quartz cobbles 80 kilometers from the Wicklow Mountains and dragged greywacke boulders from the coast 20 kilometers north. And here's what most people never realize. Ireland in 3200 BCE was at the cutting edge of human civilization, not the backwater of history, the front line. While most of Europe was still adjusting to farming, the Boyne Valley was constructing engineering marvels that would not be equaled in northern Europe for over 2,000 years. For centuries, archaeologists called Newgrange a tomb. They were wrong. Or rather, they were only half right. In 1967, an Irish archaeologist named Michael J. O'Kelly was excavating the monument when locals told him a strange story. They said the sun came into the chamber on the shortest day of the year. O'Kelly was skeptical. He had been digging there for 5 years and had never seen it. On December 21, 1967, he walked into the chamber alone before dawn, sat down on a stone in the back, and waited in absolute darkness. At 8:58 a.m., something impossible happened. A narrow shaft of golden light slipped through a small opening above the entrance, a feature called the roof box, traveled the entire length of the 19-meter passage, and struck the back wall of the chamber. For exactly 17 minutes, the deepest, blackest corner of a stone mountain was lit up by the rising winter sun. The Stone Age builders of Newgrange had aligned their entire 200,000-ton structure to a sunrise that occurs once a year. The roof box opening sits at the precise angle of the solstice sunrise as it appeared in 3200 BCE. Modern surveyors confirm the alignment is accurate to within a single degree. It still works. After 5,200 years, every winter the lightbox functions exactly as designed. This was not a tomb. This was a machine, a calendar. A cathedral built to capture the moment the dying year was reborn. Now here is where it gets dark. In 2020, a team of geneticists from Trinity College Dublin published a study in the journal Nature that detonated quietly through the archaeological world. They had extracted ancient DNA from a skull fragment found deep inside Newgrange's chamber, a man buried in the most prestigious position in the entire monument. His genome revealed something no one expected. His parents were first-degree relatives, a brother and sister, or a parent and child. In human societies, this kind of incest only occurs in one specific context: god-king dynasties that consider themselves so divine, so above ordinary humans that they will only marry within their own bloodline. The same pattern appears in pharaonic Egypt, in the Inca Empire, and in ancient Hawaii. The team named the man NG-10, and NG-10 changed everything. Because for over a century, historians had argued that Neolithic Europe was egalitarian. No kings, no nobles, no social classes, just farming communities making collective decisions. NG-10's bones told a different story. Somebody in Stone Age Ireland had been treated as a living god. His body had been carried into the most sacred chamber in the country, on the most sacred day of the year, and placed at the precise spot where the winter sun would touch him. Further DNA analysis found that other individuals scattered across Ireland's elite passage tombs, at Carrowmore, Carrowkeel, and Millen Bay, shared distant kinship with NG-10. They were a single extended dynasty, a ruling family whose power stretched for hundreds of kilometers and lasted for generations. Neolithic Ireland had kings. The physical evidence at Newgrange is overwhelming, and most of it has never appeared in mainstream history education. First, the megalithic art. Newgrange contains the highest concentration of Neolithic carved art anywhere in Europe. The famous entrance stone, a massive curved stone weighing 5 tons, is covered in spirals, lozenges, and the iconic triple spiral motif known as the triskel. This same triple spiral appears inside the chamber, carved into the wall directly opposite the entrance, in the exact spot the solstice beam strikes. Second, the engineering. The corbelled roof of the inner chamber rises 6 meters above the floor. The stones are layered without mortar, each one set at a slightly inward angle, distributing the weight outward. 5,200 years later, not a single drop of water has ever penetrated the chamber. It is still bone dry. Modern engineers studied the design and confirmed it works because the builders cut shallow grooves into the upper surfaces of the roof stones to channel rainwater away. Third, the cremations. Excavators recovered the cremated remains of at least 5 individuals, along with stone pendants, bone pins, and marble balls. The bodies had been burned elsewhere and only fragments brought inside, suggesting a deliberate ritual of selection. Only certain people were worthy of being inside. Fourth, the rediscovery itself. Newgrange was sealed and forgotten by around 2000 BCE. The entrance was buried beneath the mound and lost. In 1699, a landowner named Charles Campbell ordered his workers to dig for building stone. They struck the entrance by accident. Antiquarian Edward L. Hwood was sent to investigate and recorded the find, making Newgrange one of the first prehistoric monuments in the world to be scientifically documented. For 4,000 years, nobody knew it was there. Why does any of this matter in 2026? Because Newgrange shatters one of the most cherished myths in modern thinking, the idea that human inequality, ruling dynasties, and obsession with monumental architecture began with the great river valley civilizations like Egypt and Sumer. The story we tell ourselves is that complex society emerged from agriculture. Agriculture led to surplus. Surplus led to cities. Cities led to kings. Newgrange proves that sequence wrong. 5,200 years ago, on a misty island at the edge of the known world, a society of farmers with no cities, no writing, and no metal already had god-kings. They were already organizing massive labor forces. They were already obsessed with astronomy, mortality, and the sanctification of bloodlines. They were already building monuments designed to outlast empires. Civilization did not start in one place and spread outward. It bloomed independently in dozens of forgotten corners of the prehistoric world, in patterns we are only now beginning to recognize. The Sumerians did not invent kingship. The Egyptians did not invent monumental religion. Ancient Ireland was doing it first, and doing it with an astronomical precision that modern engineers still admire. The modern parallel is uncomfortable. Every civilization that has ever built a god-king dynasty has eventually collapsed under the weight of its own elite. Newgrange's builders disappeared. Their language is gone. Their names are gone. Their bones were eventually mixed with the bones of Bronze Age newcomers, then Celts, then Vikings. Only the stones remain. CTA, 30 seconds. If this is the kind of history you wish your textbook had told you, subscribe to History Unscripted. We dig up the buried truth, the forgotten empires, the sealed tombs, the dynasties that history tried to erase. There are hundreds of stories like Newgrange waiting in the ground. Some of them are stranger than fiction. All of them are real. Hit subscribe, ring the bell, and let us know in the comments. What other ancient site do you want investigated next? Outro, 30-45 seconds. Here is one final detail you will not find in most books. The triple spiral carved on the back wall of Newgrange's inner chamber, the same symbol the solstice light illuminates for 17 minutes every December, was adopted 4,000 years later by early Irish Christians, who renamed it the symbol of the Holy Trinity. They believed they were inventing a new sacred meaning. They had no idea they were continuing a tradition older than Egypt, older than writing, older than any civilization on Earth. The god-kings of Neolithic Ireland may be dust. But every winter, on the shortest day of the year, the machine they built still works. The sun still rises, and the light still finds them. For over 4,000 years, a 5,200-year-old sealed tomb in Ireland sat forgotten beneath the earth. When it was rediscovered, archaeologists believed it was just a Stone Age burial mound. They were wrong. Newgrange predates the Great Pyramid of Giza by 600 years and Stonehenge by 500. Its winter solstice alignment, engineered in 3200 BCE, still functions with astonishing precision. And in 2020, ancient DNA extracted from bones inside the chamber revealed something nobody expected: a Neolithic god-king dynasty built on incestuous royal bloodlines, centuries before pharaohs ever ruled Egypt. This is the forgotten history of Newgrange, the megalithic engineers of ancient Ireland, and the lost civilization that rewrote our understanding of how human kingship really began. Forgotten empires, sealed tombs, dark history, ancient mysteries, uncovered. Subscribe to History Unscripted for the buried truth behind humanity's most overlooked civilizations.